I'm going to show you how to add Adobe fonts via the API token and Webflow to connect your brand fonts to your Webflow site. So we're going to start over here on Adobe fonts. Settings up here, API tokens. Make me a new API token. Okay, and then you can just copy this and go over to Webflow. So you're in your dashboard here. Apps and integrations, API fonts token, paste it and press save. So that's going to connect your Adobe profile to your Webflow for all of your Webflow sites. That's not going to add any individual fonts. So what you have to do is search for the font you're looking for. You would click on this icon right here, and then you would add it to a new project. And then you would add only the fonts that are listed inside of the brand guidelines as web fonts. You don't want to bloat your website with too many fonts. So really we don't need the whole font family of Mr. Eves. We just want book, heavy, regular, bold, italic. And I'll throw bold and italic in there as well, just because those are commonly used ones for blog posts. All right, so those are the ones we need. We're going to create this project. You just press done. So now that your Adobe and your Webflow are connected via the API, you can go to your dashboard and open up any site settings. You can hover over it, press settings, and then you can go to your fonts here. Scroll down, Adobe fonts. It sees that the API is still connected. It will list under here all of your Adobe web projects, right? So for every website that you make, you should have a different project that references all of those fonts inside of the settings for that site, right? So for our website, we made a project called Equality under Adobe fonts, and that's showing up here, and we just select that under our Equality website font settings. And then all of these fonts are going to be available when I open up my designer. If I go to click on my header here and go to my typography settings, and I can also adjust those by going to add fonts. It brings me right to my site settings, scroll down to Adobe, and I could choose a different project if I wanted to change the fonts. Now this is also updated almost in real time. It can take up to 10 minutes, but if you go back to your Adobe web projects, you can actually add and subtract different fonts from that project in almost real time. So if I want to update the fonts inside of my Webflow designer, then I actually got to go back to my Adobe fonts, and I can add, let's say I want thin, and then I no longer want regular italic. I can remove that and I just save it. And then that's going to update on the Webflow side, and you can check that inside of your designer by just refreshing and pulling up your typography section again. And they'll be listed right under the Adobe fonts. And if you're not seeing them here, the problem is, again, you'll have to go back to your font settings for this specific website in your Webflow dashboard. Scroll down to Adobe fonts and make sure that the right web project for Adobe is selected for your site, which is going to give you the fonts that you actually want for this particular website. And don't forget to scroll up and press save, which is also a common mistake that I've made and found to be very irritating, having to remember to go up and press save in every section of Webflow settings that you adjust. So hopefully that's helpful, but please let me know if you have any questions.